How do you cope with your therapist moving away? Now, this is something that's come up so often, and I'm glad that we're talking about this now. One of you asked this question, and I'm really, really glad that you did, because I have got this in different ways and different formats. And all of you guys who have asked questions, thank you so much for asking these. I think sometimes people feel sort of embarrassed to ask a question, which is why I created the anonymous, the place where you can submit anonymous questions on my website, because sometimes there's some embarrassment or shame around our questions. But I really appreciate that you submit them, because there's always other people who have that same question and need to hear that, and maybe they aren't in a place to ask, or they don't even think about asking. And the fact that you ask and you sort of put yourself out there and put in that time and effort, it helps other people. So I'm really appreciative of that, and I don't think you guys realize how big of a deal it is when you ask these tough questions, because you really are helping other people that feel just as lost and helpless as you do. So thank you. So coping with your therapist leaving or moving. In extreme cases, I've even heard of your therapist dying or becoming really ill, which is obviously just terrible. But if they move or they retire, or something else happens and you end up having to leave them, that can be so difficult. And I want to validate how difficult that is, because you're essentially losing, in a lot of cases, the one person who was always there for you, who loved you unconditionally, who wasn't judgmental of you, who you could share anything with. So obviously the loss of that is going to be tremendous. And I think sometimes, I don't know, it's almost like people think that it shouldn't be that hard, and it's more like, I don't know, your doctor leaving or something. But the therapist relationship is different. It's more intense. You share so many personal things. You have that connection with. So it's different than, another professional leaving. Even a professional that, does have a level of vulnerability, it's different. It's more intense. The therapeutic relationship is so intense, and so much healing can be done there, and so much sharing, and so much pain and vulnerability is shared there. So when that person leaves, it's traumatic, and it literally will be going through grief. So if this is hard for you and this is a struggle for you, just know that that is so normal, and there's nothing wrong with you. People sometimes think that, oh, I was too attached to them, or oh, I just can't get over this, or they start blaming themselves. But that's not fair, and that's just not true, because this is so hard, and this is grief. You're going to be feeling grief. You're going to be sad. Sometimes it feels like a breakup or a heartbreak, or even like the loss of someone dying. Like, that sort of grief is so heavy here. So understanding that is so important, and giving yourself that sort of validation, because if I'm going through intense grief, hopefully I'll be a little more kind to myself and a little more patient with myself. Give myself a little extra love, because this is really hard and painful, and you wouldn't expect to go through a serious loss of losing someone you love. You wouldn't expect yourself just to get over it, right? So you shouldn't expect yourself just to get over this, especially if it was a really intense relationship and a really powerful relationship. And even if it wasn't that intense and powerful, you still shared so much with them, and the idea of starting over with someone new can be really daunting. So I want you to make sure to just let yourself feel what you're feeling, and try not to judge yourself when those feelings come up. So when you start to feel sad or lonely, or you miss them, or you go into these kind of negative places, try to give yourself a little extra love and be like, okay, you know what, this is hard and this is painful, but this is also normal. Like, this, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me here. I'm going through grief. I'm going through the grieving process. And maybe from there you look at, okay, what do I need? Well, I'm feeling really lonely. Like, who could I reach out to, or who could I connect with? or I'm feeling really tired. I think I need to sleep, or I really need to find another therapist, but I've been avoiding that. I think I'm going to try to look for some therapists. And that doesn't mean that, I didn't love and connect and want to stay with this person, but unfortunately I have to move on, right? I have to go to someone else. So I'm going to start looking for that person and seeing if I can find another fit. It won't be the same relationship, but one that will also work for me, maybe in different ways. So validate yourself, like, okay, this is okay what I'm feeling. I'm okay. I am okay. I will be okay. It's hard, but I will get through this. Now, what can I do? What do I need? How can I offer myself some self-care and some self-love and just make myself just feel a little bit better, even if it's, something dumb, like I really want to do this, or I'm really craving this, or give yourself that sometimes. That's okay. You can do that. And just let yourself go through the process. I think sometimes just changing the expectation, like, okay, I hate that I can't just get over this. If I could just get over this, I would, but I can't. So I'm just going to accept that that's how it is and just try to do the best I can. That is very different than trying to fight with it and push it down and pretend like it's not there or distract from it. That's different, and that will help you actually get through it better. I also did a video on working through grief that is also applicable here, so you can watch that and see if any of those things are helpful. Just like any kind of grief journey, this will look different for everybody, but the main points are the same. It's going to be hard, unfortunately. I'm sorry. It's going to be painful. It's going to kind of cycle, and there's going to be different times. Sometimes you're feeling okay. Sometimes you're feeling angry. Sometimes you're feeling depressed. Sometimes you're feeling lonely. Sometimes you're like, oh, I think I'm okay. I think I'm moving on. And then all of a sudden the anger comes back or the depression comes back. And it's really frustrating when that happens, but know that that's also a normal part of this. And you're going to need to take care of yourself. You're going to need to find other support. So if you're not ready to see another therapist yet, maybe try reaching out to a group or even an online group just for some support in the meantime until you get back to a place where you want and will see another person that can kind of support you and work through that. And I think the fact that you are struggling with this also shows that you were vulnerable and you did connect, which is the whole idea. So it sucks that you're going through this, but it also shows that you did a good job in connecting with this person, in making real connections with someone, in communicating, in being vulnerable, because grief and pain only happen in this way when we really cared and connected and loved somebody, right? So if you didn't really care and you didn't connect and you didn't share anything, it wouldn't be hard at all. But you did, which is what you're supposed to do. And that is a positive thing. I know it doesn't feel like a positive thing, but it's kind of like, like in the other grief video, we talked about how grief is love with no place to go. So you can't connect with that person anymore, and that builds up grief, and that's hard. But love and connection are still worth it. They sometimes come with pain when they leave, but they're still worth it, and that's still where healing happens, in that space where you can connect with somebody. So you actually did probably what you needed and what you're supposed to, and now it's another phase of that and another phase of growth and working through things and figuring out how to work through this grief and move through it and become stronger on the other side. So try not to get too down on yourself. I know that's hard, and I know this whole process is hard, but you can and you will get through it. Just keep trying and be so patient with yourself. I know that's not easy either, but remind yourself to be patient with yourself and offer some extra self-care.